Okay, if you've been tuning into the start of the 2026-27 football season, you might have noticed something feels just a little bit different, right? The pace is totally frantic, the stoppages are noticeably shorter, and honestly, there is a whole lot of confusion out there on the pitch. Well, that's because this season brings an unprecedented volume of new football laws designed specifically to speed up the game. We are literally looking at a massive overhaul of the rulebook being deployed right across English football, from Sunday League matches all the way up to the Premier League. So, the driving force behind this whole overhaul, it literally comes down to one single number, 60.43%. To really understand why we have these new rules, we have to look back at what lawmakers achieved this past summer at the World Cup. Matches there saw the ball in play for an average of 58 minutes and 16 seconds. To put that into perspective, that equates to that incredible 60.43% of total match time. Compare that to the 56.86% we saw in Qatar in 2022. It's a huge leap, and they achieved this massive jump in active play time with far less added time at the end of the halves. This number right here is exactly why lawmakers are introducing these changes. They want this high-tempo, continuous action to be the global standard.
And look, the really crucial point here is that these new laws are not just about handing out stricter punishments. They are fundamental solutions deployed to change player behavior entirely. The authorities are on an absolute mission to eradicate those frustrating game delays that drive us all crazy. For teams that have historically relied on the dark arts to run down the clock and hold on to a slim lead, well, this is a massive wake-up call. The rulebook is no longer on their side.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the war on time wasting. Second, the substitution stopwatch. Third, curing the tactical injury. Fourth, box confusion and handballs. And finally, VAR upgrades and tweaks. All right, diving right into Section 1, the war on time wasting. The authorities are aggressively targeting players who casually stroll over to restart play. Let's walk through the referee's new exact countdown protocol for throw-ins and goal kicks, because it is strict. It's a clear three-step process. First, the referee blows the whistle to basically say, hurry up. Second, the ref raises an arm and visibly counts down 5 seconds, moving their arm up and down so everyone can see it. Third, if time runs out, the whistle blows again and boom, the throw goes to the opposition. And this brilliantly illustrates just how rigid the new law is. It even triggers if a player tries that old trick of leaving the ball on a cone and dropping it for a teammate. If you disrupt play, the clock starts. No exceptions. And wow, check out the dramatic shift in consequences for goalkeepers here. Under the old rule, if a keeper deliberately took too long over a goal kick at the end of a match, what happened? They might get a warning or maybe a yellow card. And let's be honest, they were perfectly happy to take that yellow if it secured the win. But under the new rule, if the keeper takes too long, the opposition is directly awarded a corner kick. I mean, just imagine clinging to a 1-0 lead in the 90th minute and suddenly handing the other team a corner just because your keeper was a bit too slow. It's a total game changer. Moving on to Section 2, the substitution stopwatch. So we're shifting from active time wasting to passive delays. The simple act of a player leaving the pitch is now governed by a strict, really punishing clock. Substituted players now have exactly 10 seconds to leave the field at the nearest point. Just 10 seconds. If they fail to do so, then their substitute is blocked from entering the field for at least 1 minute. The offending team is basically forced to play with 10 men. And because the substitute has to wait on the sidelines until the very next break in play, a team could realistically be left completely exposed, down a man for several minutes. To show you just how jarring this has been for players adjusting to the rules, look at this incredible quote. "I didn't know." This was from Middlesbrough striker Will Langshear. He actually became the very first victim of this rule during a Carabao Cup tie against Wrexham. Here's what happened. Borough was leading 1-0 in the 80th minute thanks to a goal from Langshear himself. As he was subbed off, he slowly jogged off the pitch, soaking it in, clapping the fans. You know, the usual. His manager was frantically urging him to hurry, but he took longer than 10 seconds. His replacement was blocked, and Middlesbrough had to defend their narrow lead with 10 men. It just goes to show, you literally cannot switch off for a second this season. All right, Section 3, curing the tactical injury. We have all seen one of modern football's most controversial tactics. A team is building momentum, attacking relentlessly, and suddenly an opposing player just drops to the turf. Well, under the old rules, players were used to waiting on the sidelines for about 30 seconds after a physio came on. The new rule ups this sideline wait to a full, strict 1 minute. And get this, a player must go off if they cause the referee to stop the game, even if they explicitly say they don't need treatment. The only major exception here is if the player who committed the foul gets a yellow or red card, then the injured player can stay on. This guarantees players can't just hit the deck to artificially break up the opposition's momentum. Which brings us to the ultimate fake stoppage, the goalkeeper tactical timeout. You know the one. This is a tactic where a keeper feigns an injury, sits on the turf, and signals for the physio. Suddenly, all the outfield players magically rush over to the technical area to get a spontaneous team talk and tactical adjustment from the manager. Once the message is delivered, the keeper miraculously recovers. It's wild, and it has caused immense frustration for fans in recent seasons. So, to fix this, English football is adopting a highly unique trial across all its professional leagues. If a goalkeeper goes down and asks for treatment, well, you can't force the keeper to leave the pitch. Obviously, you need a goalie. So instead, an outfield player specifically chosen by the coach must leave the field for 1 minute. By penalizing the outfield numbers instead, lawmakers are banking on managers abandoning the tactical timeout entirely. Going down to 10 men is simply too risky for a quick chat.
Next up, Section 4, box confusion and handballs. So teams absolutely love taking short goal kicks inside the box now, but man, it has led to some sheer inconsistency. Look at these two bizarre incidents. In a Champions League game, Aston Villa's Tyrone Mings was penalized for a handball and conceded a penalty after his keeper kicked the ball to him. Yet, earlier that same year, Arsenal's Gabriel performed the exact identical action, picking up the ball with his hand after his keeper kicked it to him and was completely unpenalized. This is exactly the kind of confusion that lawmakers are fixing right now.
Here is the new, consistent approach that's going to be applied across all competitions. Once the ball is kicked by the goalkeeper or a defender, the goal kick is officially viewed as having been taken. It's a live ball, period. Any subsequent touch of the ball with the hand or arm by a defender is a penalty, and if it's passed back and the goalkeeper handles it, it's an indirect free kick. This leaves zero room for subjective interpretation by the referee. It's cut and dry.
And finally, Section 5, VAR upgrades and tweaks.
Love it or hate it, VAR is constantly evolving. Let's rapidly outline the specific new powers the video assistant referee has been granted to intervene in these match-altering moments this season. First, they can now review a second yellow card if it leads to a red card. But, and this is key, only for clear errors, not just subjective differences of opinion. Second, as part of a trial, VAR can review attacking fouls that happen before a set piece is taken, assuming it directly leads to a goal, penalty, or sanction. And third, they can review cases of mistaken identity, like if the referee penalizes the totally wrong team for a handball.
But, just as importantly, let's look at what VAR will not do this season. English football is intentionally not adopting all the interventions we saw at the World Cup. For instance, VAR will not intervene on incorrect corners. It will not review defensive fouls before the ball is in play because logically, it's impossible to give a penalty if the ball isn't even live. And it won't intervene on red cards for players who cover their mouth in a confrontational situation. They are drawing very specific lines in the sand here just to keep the game moving.
And that actually brings us to the end of this explainer. We have covered a massive scale of changes today, from visible 5-second countdowns and substitution stopwatches to 10-man penalties for tactical injuries. The authorities have fundamentally rewritten the rulebook to prioritize the flow of the game and keep the ball in play. But it leaves us with this final, provocative question to ponder. Will these new laws finally kill the dark arts of time wasting once and for all? Or will clever managers and players simply find brand new ways to run down the clock? Because as we know, the tactical battle never truly ends.